Why would anyone choose to live on top of a supervolcano? It's a question that, honestly, seems to defy logic. It really challenges our most basic instincts for safety and self-preservation. Yet in the sun-drenched landscape of southern Italy, more than 500,000 people do exactly that. They make their homes, raise their families, and, run their businesses across a sprawling, sunken crater known as Campi Flegrei, the burning fields. But this isn't some place of desolate, smoking rock. It's actually a vibrant tapestry of bustling towns, ancient ruins, and shimmering lakes, all nestled within the caldera of one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes. Here, the line between paradise and peril is just impossibly thin. The people living here experience a constant, low-level hum of activity beneath their feet. The ground trembles. The earth, well, it breathes, rising and falling with a slow, rhythmic pulse. This is a reality they've just come to accept, a part of the unique character of their home. For them, the volcano isn't some abstract threat from a textbook. It's a living, breathing neighbor. It's the fertile soil that yields plump tomatoes and fragrant lemons. It's the warm thermal springs that have drawn visitors for, honestly, millennia. It's a source of both immense beauty and profound risk, a paradox that's woven into the very fabric of their daily lives. Understanding their choice, though, requires more than just looking at geological maps or seismic data. It really means listening to their stories. It means walking the streets of Pozzuoli, a city right at the volcano's heart, and feeling those subtle shifts of the ground. It means appreciating the deep, multi-generational roots that anchor families to this specific patch of earth. Their decision to stay isn't born of ignorance or recklessness. It's a complex calculation of history, culture, community, and an enduring emotional connection that more often than not outweighs the ever-present geological danger. They're not just living on the edge, they're thriving there. So, in this essay, we'll journey right into the heart of Campi Flegrei. We'll explore the immense geological forces that shaped this unique landscape and still stir beneath it. We'll meet the people who call this caldera home, hearing in their own words how they navigate the challenges and, honestly, embrace the beauty of their precarious existence. We'll also talk to the scientists who dedicate their lives to monitoring the volcano, working tirelessly to interpret its whispers and warnings. Ultimately, we'll try to understand why, for so many, leaving this dangerous ground is simply not an option. It's home. A portrait of Campi Flegrei. When you think of a volcano, you probably picture a tall, conical mountain, something like Mount Fuji in Japan, or, Italy's own Mount Vesuvius. Campi Flegrei isn't like that. It's actually far more subtle and, in a lot of ways, far more powerful. It's a supervolcano. A supervolcano is defined by its potential for a colossal eruption, one that can eject more than 1,000 cubic kilometers of material and actually alter the global climate. These are the titans of the volcanic world, capable of events that really dwarf anything humanity has ever witnessed. Their most defining feature is often what they leave behind, a massive depression in the ground called a caldera. Campi Flegrei is an 8-mile-wide caldera. It formed after a series of cataclysmic eruptions in the distant past. The most significant of these, the Campanian ignimbrite eruption around 40,000 years ago, was a truly world-altering event. It was 80 times larger than the famous eruption of Vesuvius that buried Pompeii in 79 AD. It spewed so much ash into the atmosphere that it may have triggered a volcanic winter, cooling the planet and possibly even contributing to the extinction of the Neanderthals. Another major eruption followed 15,000 years ago, further shaping the landscape we see today. The caldera isn't just one single vent, but a complex system of dozens of craters, vents, hot springs, and gas emissions. The danger of Campi Flegrei really lies in this complexity. Future eruptions aren't necessarily destined to be super eruptions. Smaller events are actually far more likely. But even a smaller eruption could be devastating for such a densely populated region. The primary threat would be pyroclastic flows. These are superheated, fast-moving avalanches of ash, rock, and gas, traveling at speeds over 60 miles per hour with temperatures exceeding 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. They're utterly unstoppable and incinerate everything in their path. The sheer scale of the caldera means an eruption could impact a vast area, making it a far greater immediate threat than the more famous Vesuvius nearby. Today, the caldera is a mosaic of volcanic features. The Solfatara crater hisses with sulfurous steam. Lake Avernus, once believed by the ancient Romans to be the entrance to the underworld, fills another crater, and all around them, towns and cities have grown. The very ground that was forged in immense explosions is now home to hundreds of thousands of people. They live their lives within the bowl of this ancient, sleeping giant, constantly reminded of its power by the rumblings and shifts of the earth itself. It's a landscape of both serene beauty and honestly unimaginable destructive potential. To understand Campi Flegrei, we really need to look deep beneath the surface of the Earth. Italy's dramatic volcanic landscape is the direct result of a monumental geological collision. The planet's crust isn't a single solid shell. It's broken into massive slabs called tectonic plates, which are constantly moving, grinding against, and sliding past one another. The Mediterranean region is a particularly active zone where two of these giants meet, the African plate and the Eurasian plate. For millions of years, the African plate has been slowly pushing north, diving beneath the Eurasian plate in a process known as subduction. This process is basically the engine that drives Italy's volcanism. As the African plate sinks deeper into the Earth's mantle, immense heat and pressure cause the rock to melt, forming magma. This molten rock is less dense than the solid rock surrounding it, so it begins to rise toward the surface. It collects in vast underground chambers, building pressure over thousands of years. When that pressure becomes too great, or when a crack in the crust provides an escape route, the magma erupts onto the surface. This is how volcanoes like Mount Vesuvius, the island of Ischia, and the entire Campi Flegrei system were born. The Campania region, where Naples and Campi Flegrei are located, is a geological hotspot. It sits directly above a zone where the subducting African plate is tearing, creating deep fractures that allow magma to ascend more easily. This complex underground plumbing system feeds all three of the area's active volcanoes. It means the region is inherently unstable, prone to both earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The ground itself is a thin veil separating the bustling human world from a subterranean realm of fire and unimaginable force. The daily tremors are a constant reminder of this powerful, ongoing geological drama. This tectonic struggle isn't something that happened in the distant past. It's happening right now. The African plate continues its slow, relentless push northward at a rate of a few centimeters per year, about the same speed at which your fingernails grow. This constant movement ensures that the magma chambers beneath Campania will continue to be supplied with molten rock. It guarantees that the region's volcanoes are not extinct, but merely dormant. They're sleeping giants, and the geological forces that created them are still very much at work, shaping the land and, honestly, defining the lives of those who live upon it. In recent years, the sleeping giant of Campi Flegrei has started to stir more restlessly. The signs of its reawakening are, well, impossible to ignore. Since late 2023, the region has been shaken by a dramatic increase in seismic activity. What were once occasional rumbles have become a daily phenomenon. Scientists refer to these as seismic swarms, clusters of small but frequent earthquakes that ripple through the caldera. In a single month in 2024, monitors logged over 2,500 of these tremors. While most are too weak to be felt, some have been strong enough to crack walls, rattle windows, and honestly, fray the nerves of the local population. The most jarring of these events was a 4.6 magnitude earthquake in June 2024, the strongest to hit the area in decades. It sent panicked residents pouring into the streets and forced some families from their homes. These quakes aren't just random tremors. They're a direct symptom of the pressure building beneath the surface. According to a May 2025 study from Stanford University, this unrest isn't being driven by magma moving directly toward the surface. Instead, it's caused by rising pressure in a vast geothermal reservoir of superheated water and gas trapped miles below ground. The caprock sealing this reservoir is bending and fracturing under the strain, causing the ground to shake. This immense underground pressure is having a visible effect on the landscape itself. The ground is rising in a phenomenon known as bradyseism. This slow, steady uplift is most evident in the port city of Pozzuoli, which sits right at the heart of the caldera. Since 2005, the ground level in the city has risen by an astonishing 4.6 feet. This isn't a subtle geological process measured only by sensitive instruments. You can see it with your own eyes. Old mooring rings for boats at the port now hang high on the stone walls, several feet above the current water level. The sea has retreated, leaving parts of the harbor high and dry. This ground deformation is honestly a double-edged sword. While it creates practical problems for the city, it also provides a crucial warning sign for scientists. The rate of uplift is one of the key metrics they use to gauge the volcano's activity level. However, this rising ground also makes reliable eruption forecasting incredibly difficult. Scientists can see the pressure is building, but they really cannot know for certain when the caprock might fail completely, potentially triggering an eruption. They can only say that the volcano is entering a new phase of stress, making the situation more dangerous and the need for vigilance more critical than ever. For Maria Rossi, a cafe owner in the historic center of Pozzuoli, the daily tremors are just part of the morning routine. You feel a little shake. The cups on the shelf rattle for a second, and then it's over, she says, wiping down the espresso machine. At first, it was frightening. Now, you just pause, look around to see if your neighbors felt it too, and then you carry on. What else can you do? This is our home. Her sentiment is echoed throughout the city. The people of Pozzuoli have developed a unique resilience, a psychological adaptation to living on ground that is never truly still. They have, in a way, normalized the risk. Life goes on with an almost defiant sense of normalcy. Children walk to school past ancient Roman columns and modern seismic sensors. Fishermen mend their nets at the port, their conversations punctuated by the occasional distant rumble. In the local markets, vendors sell fresh produce grown in the volcano's rich, fertile soil. The volcano is an undeniable presence, but it does not dominate every moment. Instead, it has been woven into the cultural identity of the place. People joke about it, they complain about it, and they respect it. It's, honestly, like the temperamental landlord they have all learned to live with. Of course, the recent increase in activity has heightened anxiety. The big one in June, that was different, admits Marco, a young father pushing his child on a swing in a local park. That one felt strong. It made you think. My wife and I talked about it that night. Do we have a plan? Do we know where to go? The government tells us there are plans, but you wonder how it would really work with so many people. This undercurrent of worry is always there, just beneath the surface of daily life. It surfaces during seismic swarms or after a particularly strong jolt, reminds everyone of the power they live upon. Despite the fear, the sense of community is powerful. Neighbors check on each other after a tremor. Local civil protection groups hold drills and distribute information pamphlets. There is a shared understanding, an unspoken bond among those who choose to stay. They are all in this together. They share the same beautiful views of the Bay of Naples, and they share the same fundamental risk. This shared experience forges a community spirit that is perhaps stronger and more vital than in places where the ground is solid and predictable. Life in Pozzuoli is a constant balance between appreciating the present and preparing for an uncertain future. Dr. Elena Ricci has spent the last 20 years with her ear to the ground at Campi Flegrei. As a volcanologist at Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology, or INGV, she is one of the dedicated watchers on the wall, monitoring the supervolcano's every breath. She says, Campi Flegrei is one of the most intensely monitored volcanic systems on Earth. From the INGV's Naples Observatory, surrounded by screens displaying real-time data, she explains, we track everything: seismicity, ground deformation with GPS and satellites, the temperature and chemical composition of gases from fumaroles, and changes in the local gravity field. Every piece of data is a clue. She points out a graph showing a jagged, upward trending line. This is the ground uplift in Pozzuoli. You can see the acceleration since 2005. And here, she says, switching screens, this is the seismic data. We've implemented new AI models that help us detect thousands of micro-earthquakes we would have missed before. We went from detecting 12,000 events to over 54,000 in just 3 years. It gives us an unprecedentedly detailed picture of the stress building in the crust. This fire hose of information helps scientists understand the mechanics of the unrest, but it doesn't provide a crystal ball. Dr. Ricci continues, the greatest challenge with Campi Flegrei is that history is an imperfect guide. Its last eruption was in 1538, a relatively small event that formed a new cinder cone, Monte Nuovo. Before that, you have to go back 15,000 years for a major event. The current unrest with the intense Bradycism resembles the periods in the 1970s and 1980s, which did not end in an eruption. But the system is clearly under more stress now than it was then. The rock is becoming weaker. We are in new territory, and we must be extremely cautious in our interpretations. The ultimate goal of all this monitoring is to provide a timely warning. However, Dr. Ricci is candid about the limitations. She says, a reliable forecast might only be possible a few days, or even a few hours, before an eruption begins. The signs of magma moving rapidly to the surface would be unmistakable. Very strong, shallow earthquakes and dramatic ground deformation. But that gives you a very narrow window to evacuate hundreds of thousands of people. Her work, really, is a race against time, a constant effort to refine models and improve detection methods to buy the community as much time as possible if the worst-case scenario begins to unfold. The question always comes back to this: why stay? For many residents of Campi Flegrei, the answer is deeply personal and rooted in generations of history. As Giovanni, a retired fisherman sitting on a bench overlooking the sea, puts it, my family has lived in this house for over 100 years. My grandfather was a fisherman here. My father was a fisherman here. I was a fisherman here. All my memories are tied to this bay, this air, this ground. Where would I go? To a strange city where I know no one? This is more than a place to live. It is who I am. This profound sense of belonging, of having roots that run as deep as the volcanic history itself, is a powerful anchor. The emotional and cultural ties to the land are often stronger than the fear of the volcano. Families have their social networks here. Their friends, their relatives, their entire support system is woven into the fabric of these towns. To leave would mean abandoning not just a physical home, but a whole way of life. It would mean severing connections that have been built and nurtured over a lifetime, and for many, that is a price too high to pay. Economic realities also play a crucial role. People have jobs here. They own businesses, like Maria's Cafe, that have been passed down through generations. They have invested their life savings into their homes. Uprooting an entire family is an immense financial and logistical burden that many simply cannot afford. The perceived risk of a future eruption often seems abstract and distant compared to the immediate, concrete reality of needing to earn a living and provide for one's family. The fertile volcanic soil supports a thriving agricultural sector, and the region's beauty and history fuel a vital tourism industry. Finally, there is the simple human tendency to normalize risk. After living with daily tremors and constant warnings for years, the danger can begin to feel less urgent. Residents become accustomed to the volcano's moods. They have seen periods of unrest, like the one in the 1980s, come and go without an eruption. This creates a sense of familiarity, even a kind of harmony with the geological threat. The volcano is a part of their world, a known entity. The unknown world outside the caldera, with its different challenges and lack of community, can seem far more daunting. Nowhere is the strange reality of life at Campi Flegrei more tangible than at the ancient Roman market in Pozzuoli, known as the Macellum of Pozzuoli, or the Temple of Serapis. This remarkable archaeological site serves as a natural, historical seismograph. The market's tall marble columns bear a dark, telltale band of holes about 20 feet up from their base. These markings were not made by human hands. They were drilled by marine mollusks at a time when the entire site was submerged beneath the sea due to the ground sinking, the opposite of the Bradysism happening today. For centuries, the ground here has been rising and falling like a slowly breathing chest. In Roman times, the market was on dry land. By the Middle Ages, the ground had sunk so far that the columns were partially submerged, allowing the sea creatures to leave their mark. In the centuries since, the ground has been on a general upward trend, lifting the columns back out of the water. The fact that these ruins, once deep underwater, are now fully exposed and sit far from the current shoreline is a dramatic, visible testament to the immense power of the forces at work beneath Pozzuoli. This cycle of uplift and subsidence is a core feature of Campi Flegrei. The ground's movement is directly tied to the pressure in the magma and hydrothermal systems below. When pressure builds, the ground swells upwards. When it wanes, the ground deflates. The Temple of Serapis provides a long-term record of this process, its columns telling a story of geological time that dwarfs human history. It is a powerful, silent reminder to the city's residents that the land they live on is not static or stable. It is a dynamic, living surface that has moved before and will move again. Visiting the site is a surreal experience. Tourists and locals walk among ruins that have traveled up and down through time. It highlights the central paradox of this region. The very geological instability that threatens the modern city is also responsible for preserving and then revealing these incredible treasures from the past. The Bradysism that causes cracks in modern apartment buildings is the same force that lifted this Roman market from its watery grave. The history here is not just written in stone, it is actively being rewritten by the restless earth itself. What would happen if the watchers on the wall saw the definitive signs of an impending eruption? The Italian government has an evacuation plan, a meticulously detailed document that assigns specific escape routes and destinations for each of the region's municipalities. The area is divided into a red zone, the area at highest risk of pyroclastic flows, from which about 500,000 people would need to be evacuated. A wider yellow zone, home to over 800,000 people, is at risk from heavy ashfall that could cause roofs to collapse. The plan is a logistical behemoth, requiring a coordinated effort of buses, trains, and ferries to move over 1 million people to safety in just 72 hours. The challenges are monumental. How do you convince 500,000 people to abandon their homes based on a scientific forecast that is not 100% certain? Past evacuations in the 1970s and 80s, which moved tens of thousands from Pozzuoli, provide a cautionary tale. Many people were housed in temporary accommodation for years, and the historic center of the city became a ghost town that is still only partially re-inhabited. This collective memory fuels skepticism and a reluctance to leave. Public communication is key. Authorities must build trust and clearly convey the risks without causing mass panic. Despite these hurdles, there is a powerful sense of hope, grounded in both community and science. The spirit of resilience that defines daily life in Pozzuoli is the community's greatest asset. Neighbors have informal plans to help the elderly or those without transportation. A deep-seated sense of solidarity means that in a crisis, people will look out for one another. They have faced the volcano's threats for generations, and while an eruption would be an unprecedented challenge, their communal strength is a formidable resource. They are not passive victims waiting for disaster. They are active participants in their own safety. Simultaneously, scientific progress offers a brighter path forward. The new understanding that geothermal fluids, not just magma, are driving the current unrest opens up new possibilities. The Stanford study suggested that managing groundwater could potentially reduce the pressure and calm the volcano's activity, offering a proactive way to mitigate risk. As monitoring technology becomes more sophisticated with AI and real-time data analysis, the warning window for an eruption may grow longer. The story of Campi Flegrei is not just one of risk, but of human ingenuity and endurance. It is a testament to a community that has learned to live in harmony with a powerful force of nature, balancing its peril with a profound sense of place and belonging.